Hey everyone, this is Hugh from the JudgeMental podcast. I'm flying solo again today, which is not something we normally do or plan on doing too much in the future, but I felt it was important to address some things that have been weighing on both Christine and on me lately. So if you're a regular listener, you know that Christine and I have been working together to build Judgy, an app and website, as well as this podcast as a platform for judicial accountability and transparency, also for education for those in the public going through the court system. But this week we sort of needed to take a step back, honestly. And part of that is we are taking a deep look at the reform movement and our place in it and how we're going to interact within that movement in the future. So here's what's been happening. Christine has been receiving a flood of nasty, hateful comments, and they're not from judges or those resisting judicial reform, but from people within the judicial reform movement. These are people who supposedly share our goals of improving the court system, and they've been attacking her personally, questioning her motives, primarily because she's an attorney, and frankly, they've been downright nasty. And this breaks my heart a bit because it's exactly the opposite of what reform should be about. We're supposed to be fighting for fairness, accountability, transparency in our courts, but when we can't even treat each other with basic respect, hard to see how we could expect to make real change or, frankly, be taken seriously by anyone else. I've also noticed something else troubling, and that's that there are people trying to hijack the movement for their own political agendas. They want to turn judicial reform into a partisan battlefield, or worse, they're trying to use the real trauma that people have experienced in family courts and in other courts to radicalize them toward dangerous extremes. And let me be crystal clear, that's not what Judgy is about. That's not what this podcast is about. Christine asked me to share something with you as well. She remains deeply committed to judicial transparency because she believes, and I agree, that a fair and effective legal system relies on public confidence. That confidence is diminished when court proceedings and judicial decisions lack visibility and transparency. But here's what she wants everyone to understand. Transparency isn't a threat to the judiciary. It's a fundamental prerequisite for its integrity. At the same time, we have to be careful. The act of radicalizing vulnerable individuals, often for the gain of personal agendas, is something that concerns both of us deeply. We can't let our pursuit of transparency become a tool for exploitation or manipulation of people who are already hurting and need support and not radicalization. So, what is our position? I want to be really clear. Judgy has no interest in politicizing judicial reform. We're not there to advance talking points, be they Republican or Democratic. We're not interested in dangerous radicalization. We have zero tolerance for racist or sexist angles to reform, and we will not be baited into those discussions. What we are interested in is common sense judicial accountability, ensuring efficiency, legal competence, and the protection of constitutional rights for everybody that steps foot into a courtroom. I'm saddened that infighting and petty rivalries within what should be a dedicated group of reformers is threatening the influence of the entire movement. And if we can't work together respectfully, if we can't disagree without being disagreeable, then frankly, there's no hope of making a real difference. The judges and court administrators, I'm sure, love seeing the infighting and the movement working to tear itself apart. So while we're fighting amongst ourselves, nothing changes for better in the courtrooms. Christine and I didn't start this to become targets of the very people we thought we were working alongside. We didn't create Judgy to become a platform for political extremism or personal vendettas. We started this because we saw real problems in our court systems, and we started here locally, and we noticed that there were problems throughout the nation. We had inefficiency, lack of judicial accountability, judges acting outside the law and violating basic constitutional rights. We wanted to create a space where attorneys, litigants, voters, judges, and even people within the system can have an honest discussion and access honest information about judicial performance. And that mission hasn't changed. We're just taking a step back this week to sort of reassess how we move forward in a way that stays true to our principles and ignores some of the static and infighting that's going on within the movement. This isn't to say that we're victims of anything. We're just simply frustrated professionals who want to do meaningful work without getting dragged into toxic infighting or dangerous rhetoric. And especially in light of the political violence that's been going on and escalating over the last year or more in this country. We just want to be very clear about our position. Look, if you're listening to this podcast because you genuinely want to see improvements in our judicial system, you're the audience we want to serve. If you believe in transparency, accountability, and fairness for everyone, regardless of politics, race, gender, background, etc., then we're on the same team. But if you're here to push a political agenda, radicalize vulnerable people, attack those working toward the same goal just because they don't do it exactly the same way as you, this probably isn't the place for you. Christine and I will be back next week, refocused on what matters, calling out judicial misconduct when we see it, celebrating good judges when we find them, and building tools that help make our court system work better for everyone. Until then, please keep submitting your stories to judgy.com, judge-y.com. And remember, we're all in this together, or else we're not in it at all. Thanks. Peace.
We need some justice. My life is fine, justice.